Volodymyr Zelenskyy has spent his past 24 hours making the rounds across Europe, meeting with leaders and drafting up yet another perfect peace plan. Perfect in the Ukrainians' words. Zelenskyy has said time and again he wants peace, but repeated that he will not cede an acre of land to get it. Under our laws, under international law, under moral law, we have no right to give anything away, Zelenskyy said after meeting with top European leaders to discuss Trump's plan on Monday, saying that is what we are fighting for. Washington Post reporting right there. President Trump's frustration with Zelenskyy is growing. He now sees Zelenskyy as someone only in power because of the war, a leader who has become more of a showman than a statesman.
He's a great salesman. I call him P.T. Barnum. You know who P.T. Barnum was, right?
I do.
One of the greatest on earth. He could sell any product at any time. That was his expression. I can sell any product at any time. It was true. He said, doesn't matter whether it works or not. But he's P.T. Barnum.
With us now, George Will, NewsNation senior political contributor, Pulitzer Prize winning columnist. Mr. Will. Sir, this whole idea that there will not be an acre of Ukrainian land given up came from Jake Sullivan, who slipped it into the Biden administration's policies that related to Ukraine. Is that not, number one, unrealistic, but number two, a disservice to the Ukrainian people?
Depends on what we're talking about. Not an acre of land given up that has not been captured by the Russians.
That makes sense.
Military. In other words, Ukraine isn't saying we're going to step up the war and we're going to roll back their gains. They're saying we're not going to give them gains that in 4 years of fighting they failed to make.
Well, that's not exactly how I read what Zelenskyy is saying. I think Zelenskyy is saying he seems back to we're not giving up any land. There is a point, though, about Zelenskyy as a salesman or a showman, and there's a certain amount of flair to leadership in war, Winston Churchill being a perfect example. There is, though, you think about Zelenskyy in a different sense. The corruption scandals are now getting close to him. I still remember the Ann Leibovitz photo shoot that he had 2 or 3 months into the war for either Vogue or Vanity Fair, which was just patently offensive. Is there not something to what Trump is saying?
Depends on which Trump saying you're talking about, because he has gone from Zelenskyy has no cards and they've lost, and if he doesn't settle right now, Ukraine will be destroyed, to I'm impatient with Putin, so let's continue this. There's a basic asymmetry here, Leland. Putin wants to win the war. He wants to extinguish the independent sovereignty of Ukraine. Trump wants to end the war. The compromise is obvious. Let them be defeated. Let them lose. Quickest way to end a war is to lose it.
Well, okay, so we think about this in two different ways, because you make the point that the quickest way to end a war would be to lose it, pull support for Ukraine and make Ukraine lose. The flip side of that is we said that the carnage right now is something we have been never seen since Stalingrad, okay? And that is when Stalin sent hundreds of thousands of Russians to their death to defeat the Nazis, and he didn't care about the deaths of his own people. The Russians shot Russians who were pulling back or retreating. At the same time, you have Vladimir Putin, who has seen that, who Stalin is his hero. He doesn't care about Russian lives. He does have a say in this, and perhaps we could also read this as Donald Trump pushing Zelenskyy, pushing Putin, I almost said Stalin, pushing Zelenskyy, pushing Putin.
What is he pushing Putin for? Putin has told us, Leland, with the candor that is the one redeeming feature of tyrants, he says exactly what he wants. He says, Ukraine is part of Russia, always has been, should be again.
Right. All wars, though, have to end in negotiation or in defeat, right?
Correct.
And we know Ukraine's not going to defeat Russia.
And we know that Putin's not going to negotiate with Ukraine, which he considers an illegitimate state, other than to produce what the original 28-point Trump plan was, which, in the words of the Wall Street Journal editorial page, was staged capitulation. We will delay somewhat reaching this capitulation of Ukraine. Ukraine understandably says, we're not going to do that. Now, the Europeans, this is how weird things are. The Europeans are now dealing with Belgium, because Belgium is the impediment, and one nation can stop the entire European Union. They're dealing with Belgium over the Russian assets to help finance Ukraine.
Right, and that is whether or not you can seize the Russian assets that are in Europe and then give them to Ukraine. This is Trump talking about the European leaders. Take a listen.
I think they're weak, but I also think that they want to be so politically correct. I think they don't know what to do. Europe doesn't know what to do, but Europe, they want to be politically correct, and it makes them weak. That's what makes them weak.
He's not wrong, generally speaking, about European leaders.
He's not wrong, in fact, about the kind of contradiction that exists in social democracies around the world. The rich nations are producing welfare states with aging populations, rising pension and medical costs that crowd out defense spending. Now they're saying, oops, we didn't plan on this. We thought we were going to be social democratic welfare states without this impediment. Now, but look at Germany. Watch Germany, because Germany is now rearming in a way that 80 years ago we thought we were never going to want to.
We never wanted to see Germany rearm, and now they may be the ones to defend Europe if the United States pulls back. Since March, when Trump said Zelenskyy doesn't have any of the cards, and everyone sat around and said, oh my God, he's in Putin's back pocket and the world's going to come to an end because Trump is going to roll over for Vladimir Putin. None of that has happened. And in fact, Trump has continued to arm Ukraine, continued to share intelligence. There is an increase in Ukraine's ability to strike deep into Russia. Is there not something to be said for that Trump is trying in his own way to come up with a peace deal? If there's not a peace deal, fine. But simply criticizing him every incremental step probably doesn't help anybody.
Here's the problem, Leland. Sending a real estate tycoon whose whole life is transactional. He'll give you this, he'll give you that.
You're talking about Witkoff.
Witkoff or Donald Trump.
Or Jared Kushner. Okay.
Or Jared Kushner. Is a little bit like sending a blind man to be an interior decorator or a colorblind man. He doesn't have the capacity to understand what Putin means when Putin says this is a theological, patriotic imperative for Russia. We don't split the differences here.
So you don't see a peaceful end and a meaningful peaceful end to the Ukraine war?
Putin doesn't want to end the war. He wants to win the war, and that's an asymmetry that no amount of cleverness on the part of our States Department can do anything about.
Well, and he's done exactly that since 2014.
Exactly.
When he started and broken a number of deals. Mr. Will, good to see you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.